I am Jay Finkelstein. I'm a full-time transactional lawyer at DLA Piper. I am not a full-time academic, but I am a member of the adjunct faculties at Stanford, Berkeley, Georgetown, and American. I'm a fellow at Educating Tomorrow's Lawyers, and I teach a class called International Business Negotiations. I'm the co-author of the textbook, which was published in 2013 for the class. International Business Negotiations is a class that was developed over 12 years ago. It was developed at a time when change was not the major focus in legal academia. It was developed as a concept for enlivening the law school experience. The class is a transactional simulation for an entire semester taught between two classes, most of the time at two separate law schools, which are linked by video conferencing so that the students can negotiate real time during the class a business transaction and build their practical skills and their negotiations experience. The class is unique in that it is experiential, it is transactional, which is not often taught in law school, it is in an international context, and it is collaborative. The original pairing of schools that offered this class was American University, Washington College of Law, and University of Dundee in Scotland. Today, International Business Negotiations is offered around the world by partnered schools offering the classes and interlinked via video conferencing. It is also offered on multiple other campuses in the divided class format, two sections of the class on the same campus meeting to negotiate the transactions. Again, schools both in the US and internationally. International Business Negotiations represents something rare. It is a class that has been replicated in its entirety in multiple formats at over 30 law schools around the world. 2 of the top 5 law schools in the US, 7 of the top 16, 9 international schools participate in the collaborative effort. What I want to talk about today is how international business negotiations moved from an original idea and offering at one pair of partnered schools to the number of schools at which it is offered today. Now, I want to be clear that international business negotiations is not the only class that teaches transactional skills using an extended simulation and in a collaboration with international pairings of schools. I know of 3 other such classes, one at Hamlin Law School, one at the University of Washington School of Law. 2 schools in Canada have a similar offering. And although they are parallel concepts to international business negotiations, to my knowledge, these classes have not been adopted outside of their originating institutions. And I want to explore part of what was the impetus for international business negotiations as taught at American University and University of Dundee to move to the platform that it now has, which is international offerings. Let's take a lesson from the iPhone. This is a product which all of you are familiar with. It did not exist prior to 2007. Yet, I would speculate that more than half of you have one in your pocket or your purse. Why? Well, it was a creative idea. It met the current needs of the people who would use it. And it was promoted by 2 of the most consummate promoters of our time, Steve Jobs and Apple. They created a product, they built the need, and you are using the product. We as educators are all innovators. We also must be promoters of the new and exciting pedagogic methods and the concepts that we're developing. Now, there are the conventional promotional channels. We all know them. Educating Tomorrow's Lawyers profiles innovative classes. Legal ed, we're all here today talking about our innovative pedagogy. Blogs, best practices, writing on the internet. Journal articles, we all write articles to promote the concepts that we are working with. Conference presentations, individual collaborations with collaborators. I'm going to label these as passive promotion. They get the concept in the public domain and explained, but it requires the reader or the listener to take the next action, to adopt it or to adapt it to their own means of teaching, to incorporate it within their curriculum. We need more. What I'm going to call active promotion, to move our innovative concepts school by school, to gain ratification in more than one environment, to show how the concept has universal appeal and adaptability, and breaking the barriers to adoption of new ideas. My recipe for change: innovation, promotion, ratification, and perseverance. Let's focus on international business negotiations. It was a class that started with a creative idea of a single professor, Professor Daniel Bradlow, here at American University, Washington College of Law. I joined with Professor Bradlow to provide the practical aspects of the class. The class was piloted. It was refined over a number of years. It was tested in different formats, partnering between two schools, offering on the same campus. We published a law review article, coincidentally in 2007, the same year that the iPhone was introduced. I presented the concept at multiple conferences. However, I took another step. I reached out on a one-on-one basis to various schools around the country, reaching out to their academic deans, deans of experiential learning, to have conversations about replicating the class and engaging in a collaborative teaching effort at their schools. Now, some of these conversations were very short. There was no interest. Other conversations, however, continued. And we had an interesting exchange of discussion about how we could implement this idea of collaborative teaching on a broader scale. One of the schools in which I engaged in this conversation was Northwestern Law School, and it was an extended conversation. We went through multiple committee reviews, answered multiple rounds of questions, and finally, a faculty vote to adopt the class as part of the curriculum. It took nearly 2 years to go through that process. The class was offered in partnership with American University, and it was an amazing success. The class received significant press coverage because of the uniqueness of a collaboration between two U.S. law schools interlinked by technology, by video conferencing to conduct a class, to have an extended simulation. It quoted the impact on the students who were thrilled to be part of this experiential learning experiment. And it promoted the concept of doing this more. Of course, then we entered the crisis in legal education. There was a new focus on practical skills training. The ABA, the California Bar, employers were all demanding more practical skills training. International business negotiations, as it happens, though it wasn't developed for this purpose, addressed many of the relevant concepts and issues and topics that were being discussed in the context of the crisis. A changing time created new demand for innovative pedagogy. International Business Negotiations was a full class ready for adoption. At this point, I had a fortuitous introduction. I was introduced to Dean Larry Kramer, then Dean of Stanford Law School. And shortly thereafter, Stanford adopted the class and partnered with Northwestern to offer a collaborative class using technology. More publicity, an article in the California Recorder. The next year, Berkeley Law School adopted the class and partnered with Stanford. Because of the unique geography, we were able to do the class with face-to-face negotiations between the two classes meeting in San Francisco. There was new recognition of international business negotiations. There was new discussions. Momentum was building. More opportunities to talk to more law schools. And some of those original discussions that I had had that had been truncated were renewed. They were reopened. The adoption time at law schools declined from the original nearly 2 years to as little as 6 weeks to adopt the class as part of the curriculum at other law schools. International business negotiations had the benefit of a full roadmap to adoption. There was a textbook, a teacher's manual. It was accessible and easily adopted. And through active promotion, law schools agreed to try it and to partner with other schools to offer the class. One of the most frequent questions I received in talking to academic deans was, gee, this is a great course. We wish we could teach it. Who's going to teach it? Our full-time faculty is otherwise engaged. Or they're not comfortable with the transactional law material. Well, I developed an answer to that. Offer the class with an instructor. Now, as I said, I'm a full-time practitioner, and I have entered the classroom. There are many practitioners who would welcome the opportunity to enter the classroom, to teach, to give back to the profession, to train the next generation of lawyers with the benefits of the skills they've developed over years of practice. The difficulty is that most of them do not have the time to develop a full class. And secondly, they do not know how to approach the academy to get a class adopted and integrated into the curriculum. However, offered a smooth transition to the classroom with materials, an opportunity to teach, they welcome the chance to step into the classroom and lead a class, a semester-long class, through a program. This is what I was able to offer them with all the materials that had been tested and developed for international business negotiations. We were able to provide them a complete roadmap into the classroom and to provide them with the support they needed to learn the materials and to deal with any issues that arose during the time that they were offering the class for the first time. Today, international business negotiations is taught by adjuncts at most of the law schools that offer it. And most of these adjuncts are practitioners or friends of practitioners that I have trained over the years to be able and willing to enter the classroom and teach this material. Now there's a new phenomenon, more recent. Full-time faculty are adopting the class and are beginning to offer it in multiple law schools worldwide. Demand for international business negotiations also grew through its students. The class, because it's international and transactional, is very attractive to many of the international law students on our campuses, either exchange students or LLM students. These students would take the class, they would love the experience of learning in this format, they would return to their home campuses and they would talk to their faculty and their administration about integrating this new concept of experiential and collaborative teaching into the curriculum of their home law school. As a result of these students going back to their schools, there were multiple international adoptions of this class. There's a selection of them listed on the screen, each one attributed to a student who took the class at a US law school while attending here. Putting it together, creating school partnerships. The class was managed by integrating the schools, matching them. Matches sometimes changed, so that each year they might be partnered with a different school. Active monitoring of the class to make sure that there would be a successful experience. Arranging faculty. Offering facilities. There are times when my law firm offers video conferencing facilities so that the classes can be interactive if the academy does not have sufficient facilities to accommodate that. Active monitoring of the classes. Working with the faculty to make sure they were comfortable, that all their questions were being answered as they were teaching the class. International business negotiations became a complete package, effectively the iPhone of courses. This today is the world of international business negotiations. The white dots are where the class is currently being offered. Red dots, China and in Australia, are places where there are active discussions. We as innovators, like Steve Jobs, we see the world differently. We're changing our academic world. We're reimagining legal education. We're changing the way law school is taught, and we can do it school by school. Active promotion requires time, significant effort, perseverance, as I said, for the time commitment that it involves. But it does yield results, and it is worth the effort. The result is the reward. The comments from students who praised the experience and the fact that it had a significant impact on their law school education as well as preparation for their practice as a graduate lawyer. Thank you.